What's up, guys? Today is the day we finally branch out. Thank you for tuning in to Son of Wonder. We are going to be doing a video that I like to call DC Discussions. Needless to say, we're going to be talking about some DC stuff. Not the Capitol, the comic book company, the universe. We're going to be talking about it. So let's conversate. What up, guys? So, like I said, this video is called DC Discussions. This video is about DC and the current state that it's in, with Warner Brothers merging with Discovery, and the new head of the operations, David Zaslav, and what he plans to do with the DC universe and what I want them to do, and just different stuff like that. Some of my opinions. And this is a video where we finally get to branch out with the channel. I definitely want it to be more than just She-Hulk reviews like it has been. I want it to be, Star Wars, I want it to be DC, and obviously keep doing Marvel. And then maybe even some other stuff here and there. Like I said, I want to do rankings, but, I'm just starting out. There's, it takes a lot to edit one video in general. So big shout out to my mom who helps me with all that stuff, and actually did the first video by herself. So big shout out to her. Make sure you give her a like in the comments. And thank you guys for just tuning in general. But like I said, this is just going to be my rundown of what's going on with DC and what the future might hold. So let's get into it. So let's start with the state of DC as of now and as of what it has been for the past few years. So, starting out with, let's start at Man of Steel, for instance. Zack Snyder directed Man of Steel, and I absolutely loved that movie. I went to go see it at the theater with my dad. We both came out. We loved it. And so he was going to start a universe from that movie, which ended up being called the DCEU. And they got a few movies in. They got to Justice League. And it was kind of all starting to fall apart as soon as the box office the box office readings didn't really seem to be going well for the Justice League when it was theatrically released. That's when the DCEUs kind of started to crumble. Zack Snyder's daughter unfortunately passed away, and after that, he kind of just took a hiatus from doing DC stuff. And then, Warner Brothers kept having different directors continue kind of in the Snyderverse, but kind of not, different DC movies. Aquaman, of course, is still Jason Momoa. Wonder Woman 1984, of course, still Gal Gadot, or Gal Gadot. I'm not ever really sure how to pronounce her last name. But, so they were still doing, individual DC projects that still had the same characters as in the Snyderverse stuff. But it's never has been explicitly stated since Justice League that this stuff was connected. Now, as for me and as for what I would love, I really want them to continue the Snyderverse. Now, I recently watched Zack Snyder's Justice League. I didn't watch it last year when it first debuted for different reasons. But I watched it this go-round, and I also recently watched the extended edition of Batman v Superman. I'd already seen the theatrical releases of both of those movies. But watching these extended cuts, and then the Snyder Cut, which is pretty much a completely different film, it really, I really was reinvigorated with, hey, this is a really cool universe that Zack Snyder built, and the different details and the DC lore he was able to incorporate in these movies is really good, and I really want to see this continue with the characters and the story arcs that they've developed. And unfortunately, the past few years they haven't, like I said, they haven't really connected any of it. They seem to the higher ups at DC films seem to want to dissolve the Snyderverse and try to reboot a new universe with the new Flash movie coming next year. So just different ideas they had to they didn't want to do it. They wanted to do away with the Snyderverse. And but now, ever since Warner Brothers merged with Discovery, things have been changing. And one of the biggest effects of that change is that Batgirl was canceled recently. The planned Batgirl movie that was finished, that they spent $90 million on, just vanished into thin air, and they're not going to do it. They say that it's not really because of the quality of the film. It's, it seems to be, based on different things I've heard, it seems to be watchable enough. But it's more so because of the issues going on from the merge and just like the hecticness of that. They wanted to cancel Batgirl so they could put it as a tax write-off. I don't know how taxes work, but the bottom line is Batgirl was canceled, and there are more and more things and clues to suggest that, and just flat-out statements that suggest that David Zaslav, who I believe is now in charge of the Warner Brothers Discovery, all of it now, has made some statements that might suggest he is moving to restore the Snyderverse, like many people have been campaigning for Warner Brothers to do. Now, I myself, like I said, would love for the Snyderverse to continue, and that is the main thing that I would want to happen for the DC EU, is to continue forward with Zack Snyder's vision, overseeing the entire universe. Very similar to how Kevin Feige's vision has overseen the entire MCU to this point. And in fact, one of the statements made by David Zaslav was that DC was going to have a 10-year plan, and that they were going to set that up very similar to how Bob Iger and Kevin Feige set their MCU plan up for Marvel when it was first starting. That's what they seem to be doing with DC now. And this is getting me very excited. And it's actually also getting me wondering a lot because, speaking of Marvel, their quality has been questionable as of late. I will admit to you that She-Hulk is actually the first Marvel project that I have watched since No Way Home. So the first Marvel project I've watched this year. I have skipped out on a few in recent times for different reasons here and there, but I have not heard great things about the projects. Most of the projects this year, they're either mediocre or just have a lot of problems. And in general, I wasn't pleased with, I guess, most of Phase 4, actually, especially last year when I did witness most of what Marvel had to offer. Shang-Chi was okay. I'm not really a fan of Black Widow. Most of the shows disappointed me except for Loki. And Hawkeye was nice. It was there. I guess it was a little bit more positive than mediocre. But No Way Home obviously was a complete home run, but that's like Sony and Marvel. So as far as just straight Marvel projects go, so No Way Home was more of a Spider-Man thing. For the MCU, it seems like their quality has diminished. Now, Kevin Feige did recently announce that there would be a lot more awesome projects coming. We've got Avengers Kang Dynasty, which I'm super excited for, and Avengers Secret Wars. And this is all coming in the span of now to 2025. At least as of right now. Obviously, the release dates have constantly shifted between movies, so that could change. But as of right now, 2025 is when all the Avengers, Kang Dynasty, and Secret Wars stuff is going down. You might be wondering, this is a DC video, why are you talking about Marvel so much? Well, here's my point. Marvel, since the quality has been questionable as of late, I would love for that not to continue, and I would love for it to spike. But even if it does, it will end in 2025. And absolutely no one knows, I haven't seen any leaks or anything like that, other than some rumors here and there, I guess, to suggest what might happen after that. There have been suggestions that have been made for, they might do a mutant saga, they might do, different things here and there, but I have a feeling that once Marvel has done Secret Wars, which is the ultimate crossover, a lot of people are just going to lose interest completely, because that's the biggest thing you can do. So what I'm trying to convey by all this is I have a feeling Marvel might lose their steam come 2025 when everything is over. And I have a feeling that if David Zaslav holds to this 10-year plan that he's talked about, DC might eventually become the next MCU. And I personally would love it. Now, I am a fan of both equally. I don't like Marvel more than I like DC, and I don't like DC more than I like Marvel. I love them both for different things that they offer. I think DC has a lot of depth, and I think Marvel has a lot of charisma. I think they both just work in their own ways while being very different superhero universes. And I enjoyed the MCU. Like I said, from phase 1 to phase 3, I was enjoying pretty much all of it, or almost all of it, save maybe a couple movies here and there. And then, phase 4, a lot of stuff disappointed me then and all that. And so, but in general, I've enjoyed most of the MCU. But I realized that everything has its time in the sun. And everything ends eventually. And while I would love to imagine MCU quality staying quality forever, considering the recent dips and considering the fact that they're only 3 years away from their finale of the next 3 phases, or the current phases that we're in, the multiverse saga, I do wonder if that, the MCU will have had its time, the Marvel universe will have had its time to be a connected universe and be a big universe that everybody wants to go see. And I wonder if DC is going to not come along in the future, mainly because it's interesting how, Batman is arguably the most popular superhero next to Spider-Man. In fact, he might be the most popular superhero. I would say the competition is only earned by Spider-Man. Even Superman kind of, to me, falls back as far as popularity goes. But he would definitely be third in line. And so, basically, the DC characters have always been loved. They've always been popular. But unfortunately, because of some of the quality of certain films and the inconsistency as far as, is this connected? They're trying to connect it, but they're not really doing a great job, and all this and that. Because of all the stuff going on at Warner Brothers, they haven't really gotten their time to shine as an extended universe the way that a lot of people have wanted them to. I bet this is the turnaround. I bet you that in 10 years, we will have seen a DCEU to its truest. In its truest form, in its purest form, and it's the extended universe that we've always wanted. That instead of people talking about going to see an Iron Man movie or going to see a Captain America movie, a new one of them that's coming out, they'll be talking about, hey, let's go see the new Superman movie, or let's go see the new Green Lantern movie, or let's go see the new, Martian Manhunter movie. I mean, I just have this feeling that might be that might be the case for the future. Now, I realize that Warner Brothers has had their rocky road, and a lot of people have thought, I don't know if they're ever going to do it the way it should be done, but this David Zaslav guy has said some things that definitely encourage me. The 10-year plan is a good idea in and of itself, but he's also mentioned now granted, actions speak louder than words, but still, he's mentioned how he plans to focus on quality. He says that they're not going to try to release a movie before it's ready. The main focus is to, in general, make the DC movies as good as possible. That's his quote. And he said that, they have seen Shazam, Fury of the Gods, Black Adam, and Flash, and that they were pleased with those films, and that they can make them even better. And it's not really something that I'm aware you hear studio people say often, where you can make something better. Like usually they'll just talk about how great their product is or whatever, but like to exceed the quality of whatever they just made, for him even mentioning that is interesting. So I just have in general a good feeling about this guy. I have a good feeling about his vision. I have a good feeling about his plans and his ideas to focus on making these movies good and making these movies quality. He also has mentioned, which is another one of the reasons he canceled Batgirl, is that he really wants to make these have these movies be, the DC movies, be cinematic movies, not like TV movies that apparently Batgirl pretty much was like a TV movie. It was because it was originally made for HBO Max, but then they were going to put it in theaters, but then they just canceled it right then and there. But he wants to make movies that are meant to be seen in the theater, and just like grand scale DC films. And I think that is perfect. And I think that is exemplified by the Dark Knight trilogy. I mean, each one of those movies are perfect movies for the theater. They're brilliantly made, insanely well crafted. Christopher Nolan is my favorite director. So naturally, he made these groundbreaking cinematic DC masterpieces. And I would love to see the Christopher Nolan quality, or at least something close to it, extended over 10 years like they seem to want to do. The test screenings for The Flash have revealed that it is getting higher ratings than any other DCEU film, and that people who have seen it says that it's like one of the best. And also I've heard it's getting the highest ratings, the highest praise since the Dark Knight trilogy, and which is something, because people have been bringing up the fact that the Flash movie might be canceled as well, considering the controversial stuff about Ezra Miller and whatnot and all that bad stuff that has gone down. And so people have been, I was worried it was going to be canceled, because I don't want that movie to be canceled. They had the trailer for it last year, and I loved the trailer. And it brings Michael Keaton Batman back, and just like the general vibe of the trailer, I thought was really like Flash, and was really just well made trailer. And so I was excited to see the movie, and I'm hoping that because of how good these test screenings are, they will double down and say, okay, yes, this movie is happening. We've gotten no word that it intends to be canceled, especially after those test screenings. I think those test screenings did a pretty good job at making sure this movie happens. Also, as far as the Snyderverse goes, it is interesting because Michael Keaton Batman was also supposed to be in the Batgirl movie. And it seemed like they were completely trying to phase out Ben Affleck, even though he's going to have a cameo in the Flash movie. However, now that the Batgirl movie has been canceled, and now that we have learned that Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, which I am so excited for, which is also coming out next year, will also have a Ben Affleck Batman cameo, or Bruce Wayne, or, Batman character cameo in it. It again makes me wonder makes me suspect that their new direction now is their old direction. Their new direction is to do what they were trying to do years before and build the DC extended universe. And I know what everybody's thinking. We want Henry Cavill back as Superman. I want Henry Cavill back as Superman. With the awesome stuff that they did with him in the Zack Snyder Justice League, combined with the whole story arc they give him from Man of Steel to Batman v Superman to Zack Snyder's Justice League, I would be thrilled for him to come back so they can do a Justice League 2, finish the Darkseid story, explain the nightmare sequences, and just make this DC extended universe where you've got Green Lantern and Martian Manhunter and Batman and Superman and just all of these different worlds come together just like they did with Marvel. I think it would be swell, to put it in the words of Clark Kent. Also, on August 29th, I saw an article stating that Gal Gadot may be appearing in Shazam! Fury of the Gods, which might also confirm my suspicions that they're trying to reincorporate the Snyderverse back into the DC EU, trying to make that, restore it to what it was, and hopefully to better places. They even used, in the Shazam! Fury of the Gods trailer, they used scenes and clips from the Snyder Cut. And I didn't watch the show Peacemaker. I probably won't watched the show Peacemaker, but I know that the Justice League did make some sort of cameo in that show as well. So just little Easter eggs and tidbits here and there that seem to continuously confirm what I really want them to do. Now, what I'm really hoping this leads to, as far as Batman goes, I know that Robert Pattinson is probably currently Batman, but maybe not. All of that is up in the air. It's very funny how now we have essentially the No Way Home Batman. We have Keaton coming back in Flash, Ben Affleck coming back in Flash, as well as an Aquaman 2. And then we have Pattinson doing his run of Batman, supposedly. So we have 3 Batmen from different periods of time coming together. We may see a Batman No Way Home. But it is, I would like to point out something. Out of all the Bat people who have tried to, they are seeming to try to come back, maybe, or whatnot, Christian Bale has not even been mentioned or even thought of as coming back. I mean, he said a while ago that he would only come back if Chris Nolan did it. And the reason I mention that is because he had the perfect Batman trilogy. He had the best live-action Batman, so there is no need for him to come and do this hustle and bustle, try to make a multiverse thing, because that stuff is its own. So it reveals his integrity and quality, and that Batman's integrity and quality, by being the only one who has not jumped on the train of, hey, let's get this Batman as well, because no one wants to touch it because it knows it's sacred. Sorry, a bit of a tangent there. Not saying that these other Batmen are bad for doing that, or these other people who want these Batman in it for bad for doing that. I'm just trying to point out the awesomeness of the Nolan trilogy, like I strive to do in my life. Bottom line, as far as Batman goes, yes, the Pattinsons seem to be continuing, but it was kind of interesting because there was a little bit of a moment where I was wondering if Batman 2 was up in the air. Now I'm pretty sure it's essentially confirmed. They have gotten some head writers on it. We know Matt Reeves is probably gonna direct the second one. So I think it is happening. I think David Zaslav is letting Pattinson finish the trilogy. But there's also been reports that that's going to be pretty much it. Like, that's after the trilogy is over, then that's pretty much going to be the end of the Pattinson universe. Now, I like the Pattinson movie okay. I thought it was better than the original 2 Keaton Batmans, and of course the Forever and, Joel Schumacher Batmans. But in general, I was interested in the world. It is very, interesting Gotham that Matt Reeves built. But if I had to choose between having the Matt Reeves Gotham and having the DCEU Ben Affleck Gotham, I would choose the DCEU Ben Affleck Gotham, and I would choose the Ben Affleck Batman. The reason I would choose that Gotham is because I've always wished for a live-action Batman Gotham to be a place where the more fantastical villains of Batman's Rogues Gallery and the more grounded villains of Batman's Rogues Gallery can coexist. I've always wanted a live-action version of the perfect world that animated series created, the Batman the Animated Series created, which to me is the definitive Batman. So I've always wanted them to have that place where you can walk in Arkham and Man-Bat can be flying around in one cell, Killer Croc can be being grumpy and growling in another cell, and then you could have Two-Face and Joker and Penguin and Catwoman and, well, maybe not Catwoman because she's sane, but more of the less fantastical villains. And that DCEU, that Gotham seemed like the perfect place for that, because you have a world where yes, Batman exists and yes, Joker exists, even though if it's Jared Leto, maybe not the greatest Joker, but you have a world where these more grounded characters exist, but you also have a world where Superman exists and can fly around and shoot lasers out of his eyes. You also have a world where parademons exist, and Darkseid exists, and aliens exist. So it wouldn't be nearly out of the question to say, hey, there's a Man-Bat. Hey, there's Killer Croc was in Suicide Squad, even though he didn't look that great to me. Still, you have a world where, yes, these characters can coexist together. A lot of the Batman universes, like the Nolan Batman universe, even though I love that universe, and the Reeves Batman universe, try to do it more realistic, where there's really only room for the more grounded Batman villains. And then in The Michael Keaton versions, I mean, I guess that was kind of a universe where everything was coexist. It just wasn't great or good at all. I mean, the first one was pretty good, but I'm not a fan of those last three. I can get to those in a ranking video. Let me know if you guys want a ranking video of the Batman movies. But yeah, in general, I would prefer the DCEU Gotham, the DCEU Batman be extended. I really like the story Zack Snyder wrote with Batman in Batman v Superman to Zack Snyder's Justice League, and I would love for that to continue, especially given that part of that epilogue about Zack Snyder's Justice League. By the way, I will be posting a review for Zack Snyder's Justice League, given that I just recently witnessed its awesomeness later. So make sure you hit the bell for notifications when I post a new video. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. But overall, I want them to continue the Snyderverse. I want them to do what David Zaslav wants them to do and focus on good quality cinematic films that are meant for the theater, because we need more films that are, we need to keep making films that are cinematic, with Marvel doing all their Disney Plus shows, which might be another reason that DC might outgrow them, is if they do cinematics and Marvel's so focused on Disney Plus, even though they still do cinematics, DC still might trump them. Anyway, point being, I want them to continue Snyderverse. I want them to make cinematic films, and I want them to keep the extended universe, the Snyderverse. I want them to keep it together. I want them to keep it connected, and I want in 5 or 10 years to be able to say to my friends or brother or somebody, I want to be able to say, hey, let's go see that new Batman movie, or hey, let's go see that new Green Lantern or Martian Manhunter movie. I wonder what connections it will have to the DCEU this time, just like we did with Marvel. So that's all I have to say for today, guys. Don't forget to check out my Zack Snyder's Justice League review once I post it, and I might also even do a Batman v Superman review for you guys as well. I will see you next time. May the Lord be with you, and have a blessed day. Goodbye.